camera, not the presenters. So hi everyone, my name is Alexandros Charalambidis. I'm an associate professor at the Cyprus University of Technology, and with our partners from Cyprus, Greece, and Bulgaria, we manage the Maritech Talent Project. The overall aim of the project is to bring together some startups and established young SMEs with partners from the maritime industry so that they can work together to see if they can solve some of the problems of the maritime industry. And as part of this program, we'll have a series of webinars and in-person meetings, and this is the introduction session, and we're going to focus on IMO and EU principles, regulations, especially on emissions, and how digitalization can assist this help. And we have received funding from the Horizon Europe program. I'm not going to take more of your time. You can find more about the project through the maritech.node.eu or from Facebook to check Maritech Talent. And as I said, we have 4 speakers for you today. Each one will take about 20 minutes to give their perspective on the EU, IMO policy, on emission regulations, and so on. And we can have a QA sessions after every presentation, like 1 or 2 questions. And at the end, we can have a more in-depth Q&A session if needed. So without taking any more of your time, Phoebe, do you want to share your screen? And the floor is all yours.
Thank you very much. So thank you for inviting me, or I don't know, should I say co-inviting myself. I am really excited to be part of this project. And I truly think that this is a significant contribution with regards to what skills are needed for the green and digital transition in the maritime sector, on top of everything else, the explicit technological pathways, the policies, the financing. So I founded and lead the Alliance of Excellence for Research and Innovation on IFORIA. This is a very big research group, more than 200 researchers working on more than 100 projects in more than 120 countries. And our work focuses on developing innovative systems of nature, economy, and society that can allow the needed transformations in order to achieve sustainability. And IFORIA is bringing together research and innovation centers within the universities where my professorship sits, innovation acceleration centers that we call it, with the support and very close collaboration with UNFCCC, with EIT Climate Geek. We work, of course, with Alex, Professor Charalambidis at the Technical University of Cyprus with regards to the MENA Region Accelerator, which focuses on the green and digital transition, the sustainability transition of shipping and port industry. But we also co-lead Brigade Connect, which currently incubates 150 startups and spin-offs that are relevant for climate resilience, and also co-leading the Black Sea Accelerator, which can connect very nicely with the MENA Maritime Accelerator and also the Brigade Connect Accelerator. And it's all about what you do in the sea, in particular the Black Sea, in order to incubate and accelerate innovation, mainly technological innovation, digital innovation, logistics innovation, but also innovation that has to do with fiscal, financial instruments, and innovation that has to do with governance. So research and innovation and acceleration of innovation in massive deployment in markets is important. But another very important element of what we do is our science policy interface. We have a major role in the Sustainable Development Solutions Network. I chair the Global Climate Hub and SDSN with more than 900 universities involved. And there, what we do is to bring science to support policymaking, to design policies and to help the design of the pathways that will allow the implementation of policies. And this is what I will be talking about mostly today with relevance to the maritime sector. Finally, we, of course, work with scientific associations and academies across the world. I lead the World Council of Environmental and Natural Resource Economies, which has thousands of environmental economies in all 7 continents working on issues that have to do with the interaction between natural capital, natural assets, and economic and financial assets, and how these are allocated over time and space in order to sustain a reasonable welfare for the society, for the people.
Presenta.
And at the same time, we work with various academies that I am elected member through the Sustainability Task Force in order to, again, mobilize scientific research to support this science policy design and to support the needed innovation in order to implement sustainability pathways. So our priorities in terms of thematics, and I'm going to go very quickly over this just to give you the breadth of activities that we engage with. The sliders show the different projects that have been running the last few years in IFORIA. IFORIA exists since 1997, but these are the recent projects. The first major angle that we look at issues is pathways for climate resilience and climate neutrality. And this is, of course, very, very important for the shipping and port sector because shipping and ports are affected by the destabilization of climate and the increased frequency and severity of climate events. And at the same time, shipping is contributing almost 3% of the emissions that are themselves contributing to climate change. So shipping is to be regulated in order to reduce emissions, in order to reduce emissions from CO2, from methane, from other global climate gases, but also shipping has to transform in terms of the technology uses, the way it builds the ships, the way it electrifies the ports, the way it handles and hedges against the risk of climate change in open sea and at the port, in order to be part of the transformation of all the economic sectors that are needed in order to achieve climate resilience and climate neutrality. The other big element of our work is the water, food, energy, biodiversity nexus as it transposes into land use change, and forestry. Of course, this is not explicitly relevant to the maritime world, but of course, we all know that maritime the sea is connected to the land, the water that goes from the land to the sea, the rivers, whatever happens on the coastal area has a huge effect on the way we impact marine resources. So it's interconnected and relevant to what we are saying here. The maps just show the case studies that we work in across the globe, and where you see color is where we have active case studies. The third area is, of course, pathways to seas and oceans that are sustainable. There is a lot of activity here. We work, of course, on shipping and ports, energy production from the sea, aquaculture, fisheries, marine transport, coastal management, coastal development, the interaction between coast and marine resources and marine ecosystems resilience. A lot of work on this with regards to the different European seas, the Mediterranean Sea, the North Sea, the Baltic Sea, but also beyond the Black Sea, the Aral Sea, and the Atlantic Ocean, and some work in the China Sea and Indian Ocean. Then, because the team has its strength in mathematical modeling, statistics, economics, and econometrics, of course, sustainable socioeconomic pathways, financial pathways that will support the transition to sustainability, will support, for example, the maritime sector towards achieving the investments and the transformation that are needed and the capacity building that is needed in order to become a sustainable sector, as indicated by the regulatory framework, but also as defined in the way financial sustainability of the sector will evolve. So it is very important that we understand decision-making through behavioral economics, many projects on behavioral experiments, and at the same time, which is the micro level, the firm level, the household level, but at the same time, macroeconomic analysis to identify what are the fiscal and financial instruments that can mobilize and can finance the transition to a sustainable maritime sector, how it integrates with the other sector in the economies, and how it provides the revenue in order to support the vulnerable in this transition, those that cannot afford the regressive effects of some climate policies or some environmental policies. And of course, that's why we are here. Innovation acceleration is very important. And technological acceleration, incubation and acceleration is crucial in this sector because it provides the major source of hope with regards to cost-efficient implementation of the transition. The advancements in technology that has experienced an unprecedented pace during our era are advancements that produce both technical efficiency in the different sectors and in the maritime sector, but at the same time need to produce the financial efficiency, the cost efficiency. For example, renewables on land are now per unit cheaper to produce than fossil fuel. And all this needs to be advanced and be relevant to all the sectors in the economy in order to create the business case for the transition. And this is where we work on innovation acceleration. Finally, one big element, and of course an element focused on this particular project, is skills. What are the skills and professions necessary to implement the technologies, the fiscal and financial instruments, the policies that are going to pave our way towards sustainability. And it is quite important to understand that at the moment, we are lacking in terms of skills, in terms of the relevant professions that can implement the sustainability transition, including the maritime sector. In COP29 in Baku last year, we presented a report that showcases that 85% of the skills that we need to implement the European Green Deal, the 150 regulations and laws of the European Green Deal are not in the market, are not in the labor market. 85% of what we need in terms of professions and skills are not there in order to support the implementation of our laws. So this showcases that it is important to engage in a major investment with regards to upskilling and reskilling. What is our a vision where we want to go? Well, we want to implement first of all, not the European, but the global framework of a sustainability transition. Most countries of the world have subscribed to this. This is UN Agenda 2030, 17 Sustainable Development Goals, 169 targets within them. Every year, the Sustainable Development Solutions Network issues a report that showcases how each country of the world performs with regards to the level of the implementation of the goals. This is a very quantified framework with more than 300 KPIs that are continuously monitored and assessed. And unfortunately, we are lagging behind. Red means stagnation with regards to implementing the goals. Orange means very low achievement, below 60%, yellow means below 70%, and green means we are on track on achieving the goal, or we have achieved the goal. And this framework, of course, gives you a very explicit picture of where you are as a globe, as a region of the world, like Europe. We have a report on Europe. As a country, we have a report on each and every country, but also as sub-regions within countries. So given that you know where you are, you need to investigate where you want to go and where and how you are going to reach your targets. Now, the global targets are the SDGs, which I've shown before, which you can quantify and make explicit in terms of the level of achievement. But then you have the regional and national policy frameworks. In Europe, we have the European Green Deal. So we know explicitly with 150 regulations where we need to be by 2030, by 2040, by 2050. And then our job is to develop the optimal mixture of technologies and financial and fiscal instruments and governance transformations in order to reach our goals. And SDSN Global Climate Hub that I chair proposes an interdisciplinary mathematical modeling that integrates all the different systems, the climate system, the energy and transport system, the land use and marine system, the health systems, the innovation systems, embed them in computable general equilibrium economic analysis to identify not just the pathways of technologies and transformational changes, but also how you're going to finance these pathways. And at the same time, we also work with the stakeholders in order to co-design these pathways in a way that engages the stakeholders, makes them owners of the pathways, and also educates them with regards to understanding what is needed to implement the pathways that they are co-designing. This is a procedure and an approach that has been published in Nature Sustainability, and currently we are building the digital infrastructure that will allow all these exercises for the 120 countries that we're working on to be made publicly available. So it collects all the data, this digital infrastructure. It creates this suite of models, climate models, land use models, food system models, energy models, and economic models that are integrated into consistent solutions that take into account the synergies and the trade-offs between the different systems that need to be develop in order to achieve the European Green Deal goals. And at the end of the day, we develop tools, digital twins, visualization dashboards, decision support systems, virtual reality exercises that allows the stakeholders to understand the solution pathways and implement them. Now, with regards to the policy framework, it's a complicated policy framework that we have. We, of course, have the SDGs, 169 targets, more than 300 KPIs to measure them. We have the Paris Agreement. We have the European Green Deal. We have the EU taxonomy with Corporate Sustainability Directive. We have Fit for 55, which is basically a bunch of 13 different regulations that regulate the energy system, the transport system, the land use system, and also create some funds in order to support social cohesion in this transformation. We have REPowerEU that is focused on renewables. We have digital policies in Europe. We have industrial policies that are consistent with biodiversity, resilience, and also climate resilience. And of course, we have the common agricultural policy that again has a lot to do with natural system, the nature restoration law. So all this global turn into European policy framework with 150 regulations, and then again discuss at the Summit of the Future in September in New York last year, where we recognize the need to continue to focus on sustainable development and peace, control AI technologies, empower future generations, and mainly reform UN architecture in order to create those institutions and multilateral financial commitments in order to boost the transition to sustainability. With regards to Europe, we are now faced with the development of the new multi-annual financial framework, and the key priorities have been announced. We are looking at strategic investments, supporting strategic sectors and critical technologies. We are looking for flexibility and efficiency, sustainable financing, and the rule of law and EU values. So these will be the focus areas of the multi-annual financial framework of Europe. Now, more specifically to the regulatory framework in shipping, Vera will tell you more about this. Actually, this is one of her slides, the way she analyzes the international maritime law. So we have the International Convention for the Safety of Life at Sea. We have the International Convention on Standards of Training, Certification, and Watchkeeping for Seafarers. We have the International Convention for the Prevention of Pollution from Ships. We have Maritime Labor Convention, and IMO has been addressing climate change over a decade of regulatory actions, trying to reduce greenhouse gas emissions from shipping. The target is net zero by 2050. And by 2030, we have a major review of short-term measures and approval of the basket of mid-term measures. And this year, actually, we are going to assess the comprehensive impact of the measures that have been adopted since the beginning of this regulatory activity. And
Yeah,
of course,
I think Phoebe, yes, 5 more minutes maybe, because Michalis and Dimitris and Vera will talk about it later on. So
yes, of
maybe
course,
we can,
of course. Another 5 minutes, okay. And then, of course, we have the EU environmental regulated framework with the European climate law that says 2050 by law as the climate neutrality date. I talked about the Fit for 55, the directive on the reduction of sulfur content of certain liquid fuel, and the EU emissions trading system. And we also have the EU monitoring, reporting, verification, maritime regulation that basically relates to all commercial voyages from and in between EU ports. Vera will come back to this. And of course, we have the timeline for the EU ETS extension to maritime transport. This is the effort of the EU to monetize the externality of greenhouse gas emissions by the maritime sector, integrated into the decisions of the shipping companies, and in this way allow them to make optimal decisions, not just for the financial viability of what they are doing, but also the environmental viability of what they are doing, which reflects on them as well. Because as I said, what you do to the environment, you basically do to your natural assets, which you use in your production and also consumption activities. But let me, in these last 4 minutes, go back to the Climate Hub and show you a bit of our modeling exercises, and I will focus on the maritime model.
Proceed, and then we can come back to them. Do you have any closing remarks? Because this, I guess, Vera and Michalis will talk more about this. Do you have any concluding remarks? And
the
then if needed, we can come back
is
to this.
that it is quite important to have explicit models, and this is the modeling suite of the Global Climate Hub that I was referring to. And we have an in-house model that is a maritime model of the Global Climate Hub, which is basically an investment decision tool based on a dynamic linear programming optimization, which minimizes the total cost of fleet operations over explicit planning horizons, and it integrates the existing policy framework, including the ETS. And the model is optimized subject to constraints that have to do with fleet capacity and shipping production and fleet stock and fuel demand, emission constraints, ETS constraints. And at the end of the day, you get a solution results that allow you to identify the combination of emission reduction technologies that are best for you financially and environmentally, the fuel transition projection, and also identify investments, trends, fuel transition, emissions and ETS impact, decarbonization, achievements and challenges, and maybe finding some policies that overlap and do not take into account synergies that are there and can help the owners of the fleet. So in closing, let me just say that it is important that you have science as at the basis of your decision, and you need system science in here, because the different systems do not work in silos but work together, and you need to find the integrated solution and co-design this solution based on science, but also based on the capacity of your stakeholders. Thank you.